School this year. Steve, you're up.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, thank you all for having me here. Very excited that the dog came. This is wonderful. A psychiatrist, psychologist, and a therapy dog. Right? It's a good combination there. It's an honor to speak. And your organization, Kiwanis, is all about service. And you proved that again and again. And Tom Watson over here, who did such a tremendous job with the fair, also has done a tremendous job with our football program. He's in charge of fundraising. And a lot of what we do on the field is because of great men and women like him who do the dirty work behind the scenes that often goes unheralded. And but that's the backbone of any great organization. And that's the backbone of families too, right? The unseen workers, the unseen heroes. And the question that I always have to answer is, why do we serve? Why do we get up and do these things? Why do you work at Kiwanis? Why am I a teacher and a coach? And the reason is, it saves lives. All right? It saves lives. I'm alive today because of my teachers and coaches. All right? And that's what I have dedicated my life to service so I can pay it forward. All those people who saved me so many years ago. And I want to tell you the story, that I put in the book, How to Beat Stalin, Hitler, and the Southern State Parkway. That's a crazy title, right? That I have too many.
From Long Island.
Yeah, it's the roads out there could be dictatorial, right? But it actually, the story starts out in the Bronx. Anybody from the Bronx here? Any Bronx people? There we go. What part of the Bronx?
I don't remember.
I know. Block it out. But I was born in the Bronx, and my family moved right away because in 1974 the Bronx was on fire. Yes, it was very awkward, right? It was on fire. My mom and dad got robbed twice in the same year, and they were like, okay, we got to go and move out to Long Island, right? Any Long Islanders here? Hey, all right, bada bing, bada fuko, hey, okay. Freeport, so yeah, we went out to Sable to have the idyllic life, right? The quarter-acre house, the white picket fence, the 2 kids, and we were living it. We were living that American dream. Everything was great. Until one fateful morning on the Southern State Parkway, my father was killed in a car wreck. I was 5 years old. My sister was 2. My mom had actually just started first day of work. She was a housewife. Things were getting tight, so she went and was going to be a real estate agent. And so it was me, my sister, and my grandma, and we get a knock on the door, and it's the police, and we just hear screaming. Me, so we didn't know who died. And we had to wait for somebody to come home. And it was my mother. And that just kind of started a downward swing for me. I was learning disabled. By the time I was in middle school, I was flunking out. I was overweight, and I was being bullied mercilessly, by kids and teachers and everything in between. And I was really looking into the abyss, okay? I was having hard time figuring out why should I get up in the morning. And that's when my mom really tried to encourage me. I had insomnia. It was probably from drinking a gallon of iced tea a day, It was labeled diet, but I was fat nonetheless, I don't know why. But she was always drinking a pot of coffee. We were both stressed out. We'd stay up late at night talking. And she'd always say, Steve, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, everything's gonna change, but you don't believe your mom. Your mom's crazy, right? She's supposed to say these things. And everything that she was saying was completely the opposite. How could I be anything? And she saw how depressed I was getting. And she said, hey, you know what? You're not the only person who's ever had troubles, buddy. And you're not the only person who's had to overcome adversity in this family. And I said, well, who in this family's had to deal with problems like this? She says, let me tell you about your Ukrainian grandmother, my father's mother. My babcha is the Ukrainian word for grandma. And she goes, she was a superhero. A superhero? My babcha is a superhero? What are you talking about? How could that be? I only knew her, she actually died in the same crash as my father. I only knew her as the nice lady who made apple strudel. Because as a chubby 5-year-old, that's how you identify people, by what pastry they bring to your house. So she was the apple strudel lady. How's the apple strudel lady a superhero? She says, well, when she was your age, she wasn't worried about being fat. She was worried about starving to death. She was a farmer in Ukraine. And at that time, Stalin took over, started introducing the collective farms, and brought about the Holodomor, which is one of the greatest catastrophes in human history. Most people don't even know about it. As a way to break the Ukrainian farmers' will to resist communism, he took out all the food. And millions of Ukrainians starved to death. And there was my babcha. And the unbelievable strength her and her family had to live through this. And after about a year, they got by. They survived, not all of them. And then a few years later was the Great Terror, another evil communist purge, and she survived that. And just when the Ukrainians were getting back on their feet, Hitler was now master of Germany. And he institutes the Third Reich, and in 1941 he starts Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. It's the largest land battle in the history of the world, and guess who's on the front line? Babcha. Her family's captured, they're murdered in front of her, and the rest of the war she's a slave. And I can't believe what my mother's telling me. How did my babcha survive this? How did she find the strength? She goes, let me tell you, this is her superpower. She understood, she controlled her reaction to this situation. No matter how awful things were, she was going to live. And it became her mission not only to survive, but to resurrect the Boris family, to not let us be erased from the pages of history, that one day her kids and grandkids would have a great life again. Me. I'm that victory over Stalin and Hitler. And my kids are, her great-grandchildren, who are doing great and thriving today here in the United States. That's how you overcome evil. That's how you overcome adversity. She had a lot of help along the way. Every time she was at her darkest turn, angels would show up, whether it was the priest who helped get her on the boat to the United States, and so many other angels who helped her along the way. And I hear this story, I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to do something with my life. I just can't roll over into a ditch or crawl into a bottle or give up or pack it in. I have to fight. Because if I give up, Stalin and Hitler win. They erase us from history. And my mom looks at me and she says, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know what the hell to do. I'm a fat 12-year-old. What can I do? She goes, you're going to play some football. And she put me on the team, not because I had any athletic ability or potential, because she knew the men who coached that team were going to teach me how to be a great man and how to be productive my whole life. And that's exactly what they did. The first day I'm at practice, I'm running around. I can't make the lap, I'm overweight, I'm jogging, Doritos are falling out of my pocket, I'm just a mess. And the captain of our team, this kid Jason, who's built like a Greek god, comes, grabs me, says, you're not gonna quit, we're gonna pulls me across the finish line, says, we're brothers forever. And we're gonna get through this together. And that was our slogan, brothers forever. And it wasn't just something fun you put on the back of a t-shirt. It's real. And slowly but surely, I got a little bit better. School got better as a result too. The discipline, the hard work. Things were starting to fall into place. My junior year, I'm no longer the fat kid who when I got hit, my pants used to fall down. That was always a fun trick. I'm now starting to get recruited for college. And all those crazy thoughts and plans me and my mom had at midnight with our insomnia, they're all starting to come true. This crazy woman was right. How the hell did you do it, Ma? And I'm sitting in mechanical drawing class one day in high school. Remember that? That was actually a thing. I don't think you draw anymore. They just do on the computer. And the principal comes into the room. And back then, if the principal came to the door and you were an athlete, it meant this college scout was there. I'm like, this is it. It's all coming true, right? All the adversity we overcame. And he pulls me to the office. He says, sorry, Steve, there's no scout here. Your mom's been in an accident. She's dead. And right like that, I was back at the abyss again. And do you know who saved me? Who kept me from going into this? My football family. Their parents, other members of the community, teachers, people that even, my orthodontist stepped up. He heard what happened, and he had his secretaries drive me back and forth to the appointments, so I didn't have a car or anything. It was just a bunch of people chipping in, you know. Big ziti would magically appear in front of our house, you know, because we didn't know how to cook or anything like that. All these people in the community volunteered. They didn't have to give a damn about 2 kids, and got us through. And that got me into Fordham. When I wanted to roll over and die, they said no. Okay? I remember being at a party once. Somebody gives me a beer at a party. I'm like, okay. Another player comes, knocks it out of my hand. I go, what are you doing? He goes, you're not doing that. Okay, but you're drunk. He said, yeah, that's not it. Okay? You're going to get through. You're not going to get into this stuff. You're going to go and do something with your life. All right? That was my family. When my family died, a new one sprung up and got my back. And that's what I've been doing ever since, trying to pay this stuff back. Now, at the same time, my sister, she tried out for sports. She tried out for the soccer team. She tried out for the basketball team. But in those sports, guess what they have? Cuts. Football, there's no cut. I started football as the worst person in the world. But I got to take my lumps. I got loved. I got coached up. I got to grow. In those sports, they just got cut. And since she didn't have a football family, she got a bit of a different one. She got into drugs and alcohol. And that's not to say people are good, but as that went on, that got reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. That became her identity. Where my identity became playing sports and doing good in school and trying to go to college and all those positive things. Hers became the drugs, the alcohol, the party. And by the time she was 35, she drank herself to death. And that's why getting kids involved in sports, taking care of kids, is so critical. Especially now, we have the opioid epidemic. We're coming out of COVID. I see some of my students, they just stare at me, glazed eyes. That's why service now is more important than ever before, because of all the things we're dealing with. And especially with social media, right? Social media is trying to tear us apart. Far left, far right. Oh, you're a Democrat, I can't talk to you, Republican, right? I watch Fox News. It's insane. And when you look at what my Bobshin went through, the far left, Stalin, ends in death and slavery. Hitler, the far right, ends in death and slavery. What's the answer? The answer is what it's always been, is love. We love each other. We take care of each other. We're a community. That's the answer. And that's something we have to all start getting back to. Otherwise, our children are going to suffer. Our country is going to suffer, and we're going to suffer. All right? I lost one of my best friends in the world a year ago to suicide. Why? He didn't feel loved. He didn't feel loved. And too many people are checking out because they don't feel loved. And I think that's our ultimate mission as servants, whether it's a teacher, Kiwanis, whatever it may be. We got to let our fellow men know and women know we love them. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or anything you want to talk about or ask?
I'll start by just saying, wow, that is an incredible life tale you tell, and I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
You must be an incredible coach. I live in Southport, so my children never would attend your thing, but wow, you know.
I'm gonna have you move. Let's move. Let's go.
Well, actually, truth be told, I used to live here in Weston, but many, many moons ago. Anyway, anybody else have a question or comment for the coach?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about the team. What's going to happen in the fall?
The team? It depends on how much money Tom raises so I can bribe the referee. No. No, I'm kidding. We don't do that anymore. No. We got some great looking kids coming back. We have Nicky Psychopedes, our quarterback. He broke the school record in passing last year. We're hoping he's going to break it again this year. He's a great leader. We have Nico, who's our best receiver. He had over about 1,100 total yards last year. And and we're looking for even more. And we got some young guys who are gonna have to step up, but they're working very hard, and we're confident that it's gonna be a great one. So, we'll see.
What time does your practice start? What date does your practice start?
The official season begins August 10th. That's when we start our official training. But we're doing weight room and conditioning all summer long, starting June 19th. If you want to come down and hang out in the weight room,
Too long?
we'll get you on the bench press. We'll get your bench up. Yes, sir.
Steve,
Okay.
are more kids coming out for the team than in the past, or has it been declining, or what do you, now with you as head coach, and looking at the freshmen coming in, or rising sophomores, what do you see for the future?
Our numbers this year, you know, it's what I've seen over the years and what I've been told is you go from a class of about 15 kids that's backed up with a class of 3. And, you know, then there's a class of 20, then there's a class of 2. You know, so it's very inconsistent. And what we're trying to do right now is work very hard with the youth program and trying to get the kids and the parents, especially the moms. I think the moms are key to that, because there's always concern about concussions, which is very real, but from when I played to now, it's completely different. It's completely different. I remember training at Penn State camp when I was 13, and they would teach, you know, it was Jerry Sandusky, if that name rings a bell, and they would teach you use your head as a weapon, so you get the big hit. And then even when you didn't get a concussion, it was subconcussive hits that would, you know, and when you do that from 8 to 40, like Junior Seau, that's when you get into some big problems. But now we teach it like rugby, get your head out of the way. What a shock if you don't use your head as a weapon, you don't get hurt. And it's actually much safer, but more effective too, as a way of bringing down ball carriers and avoiding injury. And we've seen concussion rates drop significantly. So it's a much different game. And some of the big hits are now illegal. You know, I'm not saying that there's no danger, but it's a completely different game. So it's about selling that and getting that message out. And also trying to tell the folks that it's not just a sport where barbarians are beating each other up. It's actually about love. And what I just told you in the speech, that's what I do on the field every day with the kids. That we're a family, we're in this together. It's a place where we can all grow and get stronger and be productive together. Yes, sir.
Good motivational presentation. What types of groups do you make this presentation to, and do you modify maybe for kids?
Yeah, I switch it up a bit from place to place, mostly for high schools, you know, and other types of organizations, you know, so I will tailor it, you know, depending on the audience, absolutely.
Yeah, Coach, what a great story. Sorry, the horrible way that it came about, but if you turned it around and made something out of it is fantastic. It's a story, I think, that just the kind of thing that needs to be told much more, and I hope you're able to do that, because with kids these days, you know, our future, anyone that you can say, have them go down the right path instead of the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit more about your football career before. What position did you play?
Yeah, sure. I played, I got to Fordham, and, you know, and it was funny because once I got there, you know, in high school, I started on the bench and worked my way up and got the opportunity to play at Fordham. And you get there and you're like, oh, I'm going to walk in and own the place. And you're 17 and you're looking at the 21-year-old who looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you're like, oh boy. And you start right back at the beginning. Like, oh my God, I'm 4th string. I didn't even know there was a 4th string. I didn't know there was that many strings. You know, they had to invent a new string for me. And what you saw was a lot of guys couldn't handle that. Like, I'm 4th string, and they quit. They go home, or they just become a regular student. But what I went through gave me some toughness. You know, and I was able to battle through those first couple of years. I started as a junior. As a senior, we had a great coach, Coach Mariani, who just really was one of the master offensive line coaches of his generation. He's retired now, and just gave us the tools and showed us how to prepare and how to look the part. He said, if you want to be a lineman, this is what a lineman does, and it was about modeling. Okay, here's Jim Lachey or here's Anthony Munoz. You want to be like them? This is what it takes. And coaching is about giving information. It's not just yelling and screaming, which he did. He was really good at that. He had some good F-bombs here and there. But it was about providing information and showing you the path. And my senior year, I made honorable mention All-American, and I was captain. And season's over, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be a regular person now. And I went to the couch, and I think I slept for 2 months because I was so tired. And then I get a call from, and my roommate gives me the phone. I'm like, hello. And they're like, this is the Giants. We want you to come down for a tryout. I'm like, I thought it was my roommate, Jay. I'm like, Jay, get that, F you, this is a bad prank. Like, I don't know who Jay is, but come on down. Oh, okay, this is serious. And I went down, and very quickly I failed the height and weight test. It's like the amusement park. You gotta be this tall to go on the ride. And also I had several concussions from playing. And I said that it was a nice tryout. Afterwards, the actual Giants were having their workout, and I was in the locker room with them, and they were taking a shower. I'm like, oh, let me jump in. So that was the closest I got to the NFL. Sure. Maybe too close. And that was fun. So I had too much brain damage for the NFL, but just enough to teach high school.
You really got that Long Island wit. You really do.
Yeah. That's the.
See, another question to go back to art and music. Coming out of COVID, still coming out of it, what do you see is going on at our high school? And then secondarily, well, maybe not secondarily, how can we help you and the other teachers and administrators come back to maybe where we were?
That's something I'm struggling with myself. My students, where I teach down in Eastchester, New York, I was, I do my shtick, right, with them, and while I'm teaching a history lesson, and they just, even with the jokes I've used over the years, I'm waiting for the laugh or the facial expression, like you just moved your face, thank you so much, that warms my heart. They just stare at me, and I think they think I'm a YouTube video, where they just swipe, or TikTok swipe, like, subscribe. And I'm like, please, I'm a person, for God's sake, so I'm struggling with that. It's depressing to me, and I don't know the answer, but I know we can't quit. We just can't throw up our hands and say, I don't know. But I think it's something we really need to brainstorm about. Like, I don't have the answer how to overcome the doldrums of the COVID hangover, or whatever you want to categorize it. But it's a problem, and it's a generation that kind of got used to just being almost cloistered, and you had to be 6 feet apart and wear a mask. And it was a real problem. I'm not saying it wasn't, but now we have to deal with the side effect. The side effect, like both of my kids have epilepsy, and the side effects from the medicine are actually worse than the epilepsy. We had to do that with my daughter for many years, and she lost years of schooling because of the side effects. And so the side effect of COVID is now we have this depression, or this malaise. And again, I think the answer generally is love, and you just got to get in the fight, and you got to keep pushing the kids and encouraging and supporting. But I don't have a silver bullet. No.
Weston is not immune.
Was that?
Weston is not immune.
No. Everybody. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Where can I get a copy of your book?
Right here. I got a bag. And it's on Amazon. You can get it on the Kindle, It's Amazon, or you can buy a copy right here. I brought it for you. Yeah.
This was not a paid commercial.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing. First of all, thank you very much. Your presentation was inspiring, and although the situationally it was kind of sad, but I think it was really inspirational for me personally. And I wanted to tell you that when my first mentor, I had some really wonderful mentors my whole life, my career. But my first mentor that I remember, that really helped me the most, told me that the most important character trait that I could have as a human being was resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, when you get knocked down, you got to get up and you got to do it. You got to do it again and again and again until you get it done. And I think that in teaching my children, I personally realized that was one of the most important, character traits that I was able to impart on my children and for them as well. And I think your story is a story of resilience, and I think that it's really remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think persistence is also in there too. That's what I told my nephew when he graduated college last week, that persistence, you gotta have persistence. You certainly have persistence. And wow. Anybody else?
All right. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Amy, cup.
Wait a minute, Amy has something for you in the podium.
I'm substituting for the president.
Oh, okay.
His name is Dallas Kersey, so forgive we have a gift for you. I think we have a gift for you. And you're gonna love it.
Oh,
It's a Kiwanis.
oh, fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I want to thank you so much. I'm not actually a long-term member. I've only been a member, say, a little over a year.
Right.
And you moved me to tears.
Oh.
And that's hard to do. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being so inspirational. And I hope you'll come back.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of becoming a member. I gotta fill out that paperwork. I'm good at talking, not good at paperwork. Thank you. All right, and if everybody